Great to see you.
Good to see you too. And we talk about shared services today.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to, I think this is the first time you've been on TGS Live. So
I know you and I need to have words about that.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us this one time. It'll be the first of many, no doubt, but this is a special event to talk about the shared services program in TGS. And no one better than yourself to talk about it. I just maybe could you tell us a little bit, how did you get involved with TGS, with the shared services program in the first place?
So, you know me, I work a lot with professional service firms around the world. And you asked me to go, how can we've got really great entrepreneurial members, unlike a lot of international networks, which are very often legal, tax with a tiny bit of audit. TGS is unique that it's got this very multidisciplinary approach across it. You've got consultants to marketing consultants through to tax to all of these sorts of things. And your members at the time were going, look, if we work together more collaboratively, we could create something that's bigger than the whole. And that's how it came about. It's how do we go beyond the normal activities of a network where, and let's be honest, what normally happens is I'm in the UK and one of my best clients is saying, I need help in France. At which point I go to the French member and go, please meet my best client. In fact, Andrew, about every 3 to 6 months, I normally put one of my clients your way and say, we need to speak to the member in Switzerland or Portugal or whatever. And that happens. And that's what you and I would talk about is the benefit of a network. It's that whole, hey, I've now got international coverage. I can keep my best clients because I can show that they don't need to go to the next level of firm to get that help so they can do their business in France or Switzerland or America or Peru or China. And so that's how it came about. How did we go beyond the normal activities of the network to something that started, we have this phrase in the UK where the sum becomes greater than the parts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. I mean, what you describe about the normal network work, it's exactly that. It's referrals. I need someone here. This is happening, and the biggest thing which has been happening over the last couple of weeks is people asking me about European VAT, as you can imagine. And in fact, that's I jumped the gun a bit, but I think that's a possible shared service for TGS in the sense that I think it was Ruth who said that we could perhaps be the vaccine for European VAT issues, but that's a bit further down the line, perhaps.
And I think this is a really good point, just to talk about what is a shared service and what isn't, because there's a lot of, hey, if I come to this meeting, I'll grow my profile and then help me decide on what this service could be.
Yeah.
And of course, you and I are there, we're there to brainstorm, but actually it's probably worth sort of talking about what a shared service is and what it isn't. So this isn't about you doing what we would call the normal network stuff of going, hey, can you go and sell my service to your clients, please? It's not a reactive sort of stuff. This is about actually joining together to build something. So Matthias. So Matthias, and he said this publicly, 10% of their revenue comes now from the shared service they built.
Yeah.
And what they realized was that there's a massive need to automate automate all parts of your business. Yeah. But through the shared service process, they really honed down on just automating, I think it was accounts payable.
Yeah.
And as a result, they went to the other people in South America who had some sort of financial bearing, so mostly the accountants. And as a result, the rest of South America went out and sold this extra service, and the South American members benefited by a bit of extra income. And this is how Matthias and their part of TGS grew by 10%.
Yeah.
So this is where there was a service that other members proactively went and sold, which was fulfilled by Matthias's team. So that's one example.
Yeah, I think Matthias as well. Sorry, that service was a key example, because often when you talk about services, everybody's got services. They're classic things that they do and could give you a big list of the tax, like audit, accounting service they could do. But that's the normal things. And I think this automation, the process automation that Matthias was offering, was something new, but it was also something that he could train the other members to be able to offer that service for themselves as well. So that was potentially a new service line for the existing members. And I think that's characterizes perhaps a shared service as well.
Yes, where you're bringing through using the expertise within TGS, you're able to offer something else. So let's talk about tax. Now, for a lot of our members, tax is the magic word. Tax is what gets them international work, which opens up a dialogue, whether you're legal, whether you're accounting. And we've got a great example that's starting to build up with Guy around transfer pricing. So for those of you, and forgive me if you understand transfer pricing, but for those of you who don't, it's all about where do I route the revenue of my business in order to pay the least amount of tax. So do I headquarter myself in Luxembourg, which a lot of people do? And it's all about where do I need to base myself in order to get the best advantage of tax and international corporation tax points.
And if you're wanting to know more about transfer pricing, I can give a shameless plug at the moment that in November, Guy and some other members of the teams are bringing together to create a webinar called Everything You Wanted to Know About Transfer Pricing, but were too afraid to ask. Or perhaps it will have a sexier title by then, but that's the idea.
That's a great title, by the way. Don't leave it there.
We'll use that, or transfer pricing for beginners or getting into
yeah. And anyway, so as you can imagine, as this is all about having people that understand the tax regime in their country and understand transfer pricing. And so what Guy is doing is bringing together across TGS and also countries where there's not a TGS member, these transfer pricing experts. So what they've actually done is that they've come together collaboratively, and they can now go out to market with an offering that will rival a Big Four offering or say a top 4, 5, 6 international network offering. That actually they can now go, and I can't remember, Guy, he's Canada or America, isn't he? And I think he's
America,
yes. I was thinking, I'm sure
the
it's
French
not
aspect in there, but there's a French link.
Yeah, absolutely. And my apologies, Guy. So actually he in America has now got transfer pricing based in the UK through Hillier Hopkins, the TGS member in the UK, but also the other key kind of international trading centers, which means that now, and you've got this shared service. So for them, it's very much aligning their standards, their processes, their systems, but also starting to put a campaign together across the TGS network of transfer pricing experts and a few others so that they can go to market together. So this is far more than just, hey, I've got a great idea. Can you go and sell my service? So we're seeing something similar, aren't we, happening within the Middle Eastern region with Audit, that they're coming together, they've built their own audit software. And so what it's doing is giving the KSA, the Kuwaits, the Iranians, the UAE, the chance to actually, because a lot of that, if my understanding, a lot of that region, it's not just the audit of the home country. There's normally the audit of 3 or 4 others. And they're all coming together to agree common standards, a route to market, how to each use this software. And so they've got something they truly own that's in their own language that they can use. So these are some of the emerging ideas. So I think
that the tax one as well. I think the caseware, the audit. Tax on the brain, but it's because everyone's asking me about European VAT, but the audit, I think as well, the shared notion that as well is that they can share staff. If they have similar work processes and identical client experience, they can share staff among themselves, which means that they can adapt the size of bigger projects when they need to. And that's the kind of sharing aspect of a service, which is great because it's more than a referral. It's actually being the same company in a way.
It's taking the TGS brand to the next level, and it's taking the network to the next level. Now, some of the ideas we see are all about how can we set up a strong international desk for our region. And we'd say that's great. We'll support you to do that, but that's not a shared service. That's what you and I would call the business of a network. That's how a network such as TGS really members earn their revenue from it. It's having that strong international regional presence, and that's what you do routinely, isn't it?
Exactly. And there's it strikes me there's another, it's ingrained in my mind from your first presentation, which obviously was very good to stick in my mind, that it's the idea about you market, sell, and deliver. the service. And there were two angles for that, because we did a doing business in Italy webinar last week, and Lance Audit, one of our members, they have a new service. They've opened a whole new office for it, and it's sustainable auditing for jobs. So the idea about sharing that service from the members is that they can explain it simply so that another member can sell that service for them. And that's a different thing, isn't it? That's another way of sharing the service, like sharing the responsibility of selling it. So that's for the member to take the steps to be able to sell it simply. And that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, and I think so you and I have probably heard, well, you've heard more, but we've probably heard 30 odd ideas for shared services over the last 2 years. The reality is probably only 10 to 20% of them are going to come to fruition. And we were discussing, what is it that makes it really successful? So a lot of people fall down at the first step, which is, can you explain it simply in one page? A lot of people don't have, it's still an idea which is very vague around the edges, with a sort of entrepreneurial, let's come into one of these accountability calls and bounce some ideas around. And of course we'll do that, but we need to see some progression. And I think a lot of people fall down in that, I've got a great idea, but how do I explain it in a couple of sentences? And
that's super, super difficult. I mean, the concept of us, even for an international network, when we started TGS, it was new, but the same. And people have a preconceived idea about what a network is. So it's the responsibility for us to be able to explain it simply and clearly and quickly, which means you can't say everything about it, but you have to be selective. And like you were talking about, Matthias, he came up with a good quick win for someone to explain it quickly. Well, if you do this, you will gain this, and that's really doing it that simple.
So the other thing is that time is a big issue. You know, people are in TGS because they're generally part of a thriving, growing, successful professional services firm. And with that means time is not your friend. You know, but that's the problem, is because none of this is given to you, and this is a very English phrase, we talk about given to you on a plate, i.e. it's not easy. This is going to take time to build, to execute, to flesh out, to market. So typically for it to be a success, and where we're seeing significant progress, there is top level strategic buy-in from the partners within your firm. You know, I think from what Matthias has told us, they'd got the idea for the shared service, then the shared service project came along, and it was the mechanism that took it from an idea to a thing. But they'd already decided that actually there's a real opportunity here.
Yeah, I think also from Matthias, that answers the question, how do I find time to move forward with the idea? And the answer is exactly there, because the question is a trick, is that you will never find the time. You've got to block the time. So if it's going to take you 1 hour every week to move forward on the project, that's a good start. But if you've got 1 hour every couple of days, then you're going to move faster. You have to make the time to make it happen. I mean, we set up these accountability sessions with you so that it would force people to block the time to move forward. And that's the key, I think, to making anything happen.
I think the other thing is also about keep it simple. The ideas that we've seen come and get to execution tend to be very simple. So the ideas that we see that never quite get to execution tend to be quite complicated. And don't get me wrong, you and I love ideas that are going to change the world.
We like ideas.
We love that. But actually, the ideas that we've heard that are going to change the world never get beyond idea stage. Actually, you look at the ideas that are moving forward very quickly. Matthias with his automating accounts payable. You look at the transfer pricing international network. You look at a common audit standard and software for Middle East. These are all, I don't even need a sentence, do I, to describe them? And all of these are flying. And interestingly, all of them, we're seeing that the main players, the stakeholders, the people that would be the advocates that would move it forward are meeting independently of us, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And the best tagline I've heard recently for a shared service was the TGS is the vaccine for your European VAT problems. I mean, a vaccine, maybe we'll get it quicker than the COVID vaccine. Give us a year, 15 months, we get this. But that's how long it takes. And it's the same sort of process. So that's great. I'm really conscious of time, as always, and conscious of your time.
Yes.
And everybody, if you're sticking with us, if you've made it this far in the TGS Live, thank you. And comment in the side, and follow our social media and check out the website as well. If you've got any kind of the biggest or key or any advice for people to make their shared service a reality, Heather, what would that be?
Keep it simple, get strategic buy-in from your firm, allocate time to it. That
is fantastic. I think that sounds like 3 excellent things that I'm going to write in very big letters and send to everybody who's involved in the process, because you've got to get the people who's going to blocking your time to say, that's okay, work on that project, let's make it happen. And simplicity is key. It's going to help us understand it. It's going to help us sell it to the other members, and do it regularly, put the time in. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Heather, thank you very much. I hope you get better soon and that you're out running about.
Running maybe a while.
Running maybe a while, cycling or at least hobbling about. Thank you very much. And everybody else for joining us on this TGS Live special with a special guest, Heather Townsend. You'll also find a link to Heather Townsend's information in the bottom or the side or wherever that is here. Okay, Heather, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Ciao for now.